said this before and I'll say it again. Some people just want to believe a prediction or an assumption that they've made so badly that they will keep digging and digging and try to connect any dots they can when there's just not a story there. I mean, we pointed to it a million times. Brady was at the press conference when Bruce Arians retired and they introduced Todd Bowles as the head coach. Brady was recruiting Russell Gage, FaceTiming him. If he really cared that much and if he really wanted to go to Miami, why is he recruiting a talented receiver to the Buccaneers that's only going to help them this year?
I think the rumors are, the stories that are being reported as news that are not news, that are actual rumors that are, as you and I have read and talked about some too, are just literally dot connecting, which you can make up a million different scenarios. No proof or evidence or things like that. It's just really unfortunate. But unfortunately, in today's world, that is what passes as news in a lot of circles. Not in our circle for sure. And to their credit, not in the NFL Network circles, ESPN circles. You've noticed that some of those ones that actually care about credibility to a degree, I'm not excusing them of all past transgressions or anything like that, but to the degree that they're like, nah, we know what the truth is in this situation and we aren't going to ride with this story, even though it would bring in massive amounts of clicks and be potentially the story of the year at a place like that. They have not only have they not reported these things, they have actually said, these stories are just not true. Like Jeff Darlington went on Pro Football Focus's podcast recently. He said, people have the timeline all mixed up. He said, that's what's wrong with the story. And remember, Darlington's reported pretty much everything close to Brady, including his retirement before Brady announced it. And he said, the problem people have with the situation that they don't understand is that the timeline's all screwed up. Brady 100% walked away from football because he really thought he was done with football. Like Darlington was clear about that. He said, I have absolutely zero question about that, was what Darlington said. He said, I 100% know that's why Brady walked away from football. Because retirement doesn't leverage him at all in the situations that are described often in these reports. But what he said was then at that point, Brady was looking at all kinds of options in terms of his post-football career. One of those options was potentially becoming somewhat involved in an NFL front office, and he has the most connections to the Dolphins because of relationships he's had in the past with somebody who's, I forget the name now, but somebody who's affiliated there, part owner there, or something like that. So there were what Darlington described as like very laid back preliminary conversations with Brady and about like, oh, what would it look like for you to become an executive or a part owner or something like that? Ultimately, Brady just quickly, after like 2 weeks, kind of had the itch to play again, was basically in communication with the Bucs the whole time about coming back to play. And then finally was like, you know what, I want to do this for sure. All these other things. There was a movie that was being talked about with Brady, obviously stuff with his companies, all of that stuff. He was just kind of looking at all those post-playing options. And now it's been turned into actually Brady wanted to go play in Miami, which is the funniest thing in the world to me. Of all the places, man, they got like the worst offensive line and draft track record of any team in the league. Their owner is, and this is a little inside perspective for people, by the other 31 teams, their owner is generally looked at, Stephen Ross is generally looked at as the worst owner in the NFL. And you're telling me this is the dude that Brady wants to go finish out his career playing for behind arguably the worst offensive line in NFL history. And even if they made moves, come on, it isn't all going to get fixed in 1 year. That is just one of the more comical storylines that I've never seen a more comical storyline. I don't think that people have actually taken as truth in some regard in all the years that I've spent covering.
Well, it's that, John, and it's that, and he made the TikTok where like it showed Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who are now both, well, Hill is now a Miami Dolphin. It showed them like their speed, and then he was running with his kid. So that kind of like added a little more to it. But I mean, surely
Brady could have predicted that they would trade for Tyreek Hill. It was not even close to available.
I think it happened after Hill got traded. So that's But also too, I mean, there's been plenty of retired NFL players. I know Brady's now unretired, but there's been plenty of players that have talked about wanting to have future ownership. Like Peyton Manning, those rumors come up every other year when he's not doing some type of broadcast or doing the Manning cast. I know Curtis Martin, Hall of Fame running back, great New York Jet, and a guy from Pittsburgh, went to the same high school. He went to Taylor Alderdice, same high school as Mac Miller, RIP, and Wiz Khalifa. But anyway, like he's talked about wanting to be an NFL owner. So this isn't the first time that, players.
That part's not surprising or weird.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to become an NFL owner? It doesn't matter what the franchise is. If you want that, and you might have the opportunity to become even a small part owner, you just have to take the best opportunity for it. It doesn't matter what the organization is.
It's very rare across the board. Like, it doesn't matter what
right.
it doesn't matter what sport. It's very difficult because once you're an owner, you essentially own the team for a very long time.
Completely different than the hypothetical. Oh, he also then wanted to somehow leverage this into a trade and unretire and play for the Dolphins. That is the part that's
and then
ridiculous.
He'll just be a player coach and he'll be an offensive
Brady getting into ownership with the Dolphins or whatever organization he's most connected with at some point after his playing career is very possible and wouldn't surprise me, nor would I care what happens in that regard. But as a player, that is absolutely ridiculous. If he was going to continue his playing career, it was always going to be in Miami. Darlington even said this, but I think at this point, hopefully most people had shot it down to pay attention to the news. But Brady was never even interested in San Francisco that much, period, even the first time he was free agent, because of how far away it was. Like, that was, he really never wanted to go that far away from where Jack is in New York. He always wanted to be a little bit closer and it to be a little bit easier of a flight, so that he could kind of come back and forth a lot easier on the weekends and things like that. So that was always a huge priority. So just a lot of these rumors, but the part that gets me, I laugh at them, you may laugh at them, Matt. The part that frustrates me is that what it says about news reporting in general these days, like the fact that we don't need things to be true to report them. Like, that shouldn't be the case. Like, we need to be careful and responsible about what we do. And we just aren't as a group anymore collectively. There are certainly places that are. This is a minor thing in comparison to bigger deals that are happen every day. But I do think the general principle is a huge deal, and we should make a big deal out of it. Honestly, as people who aren't, hopefully never going to participate in that kind of journalism, because honestly, it's not really journalism at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, the problem is people believe anything, really.
Yeah,
people believe anything, and then you run with it. And it's like, oh,